I'm Kathy Berlin. I'm a member of the Pasadena Area League and the chair of the National League's Climate Action Plan team, which is one of the teams in the National League's Climate Interest Group. And I know some of you, at least one of you, and maybe more, are members of the Climate Interest Group's water team. Am I right? Yes, I think so. Yes. Thank you for inviting me to present tonight. This presentation is a summary of the work by the Climate Action Plan team about the 10 actions that can be and should be taken at the local level to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. As you know, the burning of fossil fuels like coal, natural gas, and oil creates greenhouse gas emissions, which cause climate change. Changing weather patterns are already causing disasters around the globe. We need immediate, deep emission reductions across all sectors now. This chart, which you may have seen, shows 5 scenarios from very low to very high emissions. Only the very low emission scenario will keep the increase in the Earth's temperature below the IPCC goal of 1.5 degrees Celsius increase. This scenario requires greenhouse gas emissions to peak by 2025 and then rapidly decline. The takeaway, as we all know, is if we continue with business as usual, as shown in the top curves of the chart, we will not meet the climate challenge. 2025 is 2 years away. It will take immediate, sustained, and specific climate actions to meet our goals. That's why we developed the 10 actions that local governments can take to effectively reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And here they are. The team reviewed, can you see all of the screen without?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, okay. The team reviewed dozens and dozens of climate action plans from across the country and found them non-committal and non-specific. We wanted to find actions that local governments were taking to effectively reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So we turned our attention to those specific actions that cities and counties were using to meet the current climate crisis. We're not talking about adapting to our climate crisis. We're talking about reducing the cause of it. Every city, county, and local government needs to take specific actions now to reduce the production of these emissions. We determined the 10 most effective actions that fall into 4 categories, as you can see. The first category is to transition from fossil fuels to carbon-free sources of energy. The second, to electrify buildings. The third is to electrify vehicles. And the fourth is to reduce the use of individual cars. We have the power to influence our local governments to take these actions. You can compare the 10 actions to your city's climate action plan and also to the actual actions your local government is taking to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. I'll now present the 10 actions individually with examples of local governments implementing these actions. Action number 1. The most important one is for local governments to require or persuade their utility companies to stop supplying electricity made by burning oil, coal, and gas, and to enter into contracts providing renewable energy only. Many cities have already achieved the goal of 100% fossil fuel-free energy, like Aspen, Colorado, Burlington, Vermont, which are pictured here. Some of the many other 100% carbon-free energy cities are Palo Alto, California, Rockport, Missouri, Eugene, Oregon, and Greensburg, Kansas. Greensburg is an interesting example. A tornado destroyed the city and it was rebuilt with renewable energy only. Hundreds of local governments across the nation have set 100% carbon-free targets by 2030 and 2035. The decreasing cost of renewable energy relative to fossil fuel energy is making this transition easier. And the federal funding available through the Inflation Reduction Act will certainly increase this transition. How cities do this depends on the type of utility company that provides their electricity. In Pasadena, there's a municipal utility, so the city council has the authority to direct the utility company. In other cities that are serviced by investor-owned utilities, the path to 100% carbon-free electricity is less direct, but still possible, as cities like Denver, Colorado have shown. Denver and its investor-owned utility, Xcel Energy, have a commitment to 100% fossil fuel-free energy by 2030. Other cities source their electricity through community choice aggregators or cooperatives. Still, other cities like Houston, Texas, run all their municipal operations on renewable energy, thereby setting an example for the private sector. Orlando, Florida has committed to run municipal operations 100% on renewable energy by 2030. Action number 1 is critically important because it is the foundation for the following actions 2 through 9. For example, if we have electric vehicles, but the electricity to charge the vehicles is from coal, then we look good, we're making progress for the future, but our current reduction of greenhouse gas emissions is limited. What specifically can you do? Our Pasadena League has formed a coalition with other nonprofits and is actively requesting the utility company to transition to 100% non-carbon electric power by 2030. The coalition educated the community and collected over 1,200 cards from local residents supporting their request for 100% carbon-free energy by 2030, and they delivered the cards to the City Council in a ceremony. Now the City Council just needs to take action. Other actions by the Pasadena League include hosting an upcoming webinar on February 16th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. Pacific time with the Policy Director of Climate Mayors, Megan Pazek. She'll discuss the funding available in the Inflation Reduction Act and the process and timeline for local governments to apply for it. To continue with the 10 actions. Action number 2 is to permit new construction only without fossil fuel energy. Or in other words, the city should only issue permits for new construction that is free of fossil fuels. Commercial and residential buildings make up about 31% of the total US greenhouse gas emissions. This is a big opportunity to reduce those emissions. Many cities have already embraced all electric codes for new construction. In California, 69 cities to date have some sort of ban on fossil fuels in new construction. Some cities have excluded certain buildings from the ban, including exclusions of restaurants and single-family homes. These ordinances and regulations should be amended to include all new construction and eventually retrofits. As of January 1st, 2023, the state of California requires that all new single-family homes be electric ready. That means with an electric panel and the wiring for all electric appliances and cars for the home. In 2021, Seattle, Washington approved amendments to building codes that, among other things, bans natural gas for heating in new commercial and apartment buildings taller than 3 stories, and it requires such buildings to wire for future electrification of appliances. Santa Barbara, California, natural gas infrastructure was prohibited in buildings permitted after January 1st, 2022. And in June 2021, Ithaca, New York passed sweeping legislation that requires all buildings to be free of fossil fuels by 2030. Yes, that requires retrofits to commercial as well as residential buildings. The city partnered with a private company to help implement and finance their ambitious goals. One factor, which we've heard a lot about recently in the news, driving these ordinances is the concern for health, especially indoor air quality. Having gas in your home can expose you to carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxides, and other toxic combustion products, which can cause lung irritation and exacerbate asthma conditions. Additionally, leakage of natural gas in the home, even when the stove is turned off, has been identified as a concern and can expose you to natural gas impurities such as benzene. Natural gas also contributes to atmospheric methane, which is a greenhouse gas tens of times more potent than carbon dioxide. You might have seen the news lately that the Biden administration is considering regulating or banning natural gas stoves, and the opposition is already building. Action number 3 is to retrofit or build municipal structures with renewable energy supply and energy efficiency, and also to install solar panels wherever possible. In many communities, the municipal buildings are a major source of carbon emissions and offer a great opportunity for rapid action. Incentives are available for energy efficiency, which means using less energy. There are low and high tech methods like insulation and smart thermostats. There are also incentives for electrification of appliances, that is changing from gas to electric for heat, hot water, and cooking. And incentives for acquiring renewable energy however possible, solar panels on site or community project subscription or community choice aggregation. This is an opportunity for cities to lead by example and stir innovation and encourage adoption. They can act as flagships to pilot new ideas and inspire other building owners to also begin their journey of decarbonization. Action number 4 is to require or create incentives for retrofit of privately owned buildings for renewable energy supply and energy efficiency. Some examples are, in Los Angeles, there's an affordable multifamily retrofit program that includes $75 million for low-income housing. The program includes incentives for gas to electric fuel switching, electric infrastructure upgrades, and solar panels. The City of Seattle has various sustainability goals and programs. Among them is the Energy Benchmarking Program. This program requires owners of non-residential and multifamily buildings of 20,000 square feet or more to track energy performance and report this to the City of Seattle annually. This enables prospective tenants to choose better energy performance when deciding their next move. Holland, Michigan has on-bill financing programs that offer property owners the ability to pay for energy efficiency or renewable energy improvements through their monthly utility bill. This option is especially helpful for those who may not qualify for traditional financing and who struggle with limited access to upfront capital. On-bill programs also offer low to zero interest rates, simple contract structures, and streamlined repayment mechanisms. Next is Action 5, which is for the city to offer incentives to facilitate residential, neighborhood, and commercial rooftop solar. Many cities like Chicago, which is pictured here, are helping to speed up solar deployment. Cities can reduce the permitting time and cut fees. They can sponsor bulk purchasing programs, and many cities are also helping with financing. Whenever these programs are in place, the number of solar installations has dramatically increased. Net metering is a process by which property owners get credits for the excess electricity that they generate with their solar rooftops. If there is a cap on the number of solar installations allowed, cities can work to remove it. As you know, the state of California has reduced the amount of credit that homeowners can now receive from new installations of solar panels. But not everyone can install solar on their roof. Community solar is a program for persons who cannot install rooftop solar because they're renters, condominium dwellers, have a shady roof, or find solar installation just too expensive. How does it work? Community solar requires state policy for development, and regulations vary from state to state. However, the basic framework goes like this. Solar developers build community solar farms that hook up to the grid. Step 2, community members sign up to participate. They receive the energy from a certain number of solar panels. These panels can be purchased up front, or participants can opt for a pay-as-you-go subscription. Step number 3, the community solar subscribers receive a credit on their electric bill based on the amount of energy produced by their share of the solar panels. What can local governments do to promote community solar? Cities can partner with local nonprofits like Habitat for Humanity and local housing authorities. For example, customers from the city-owned Sacramento Municipal Utility District can voluntarily pay $5 a month to support programs that go to help nonprofits like food banks install community solar. Cities can also pursue grants and offer municipal land like landfills, schools, and parking lots for solar projects. In Michigan, where regulations only allow utilities to initiate community solar programs, the small village of Lance worked with its power supplier to obtain a grant and offer community solar to 50 low-income customers. They're each saving up to $350 a year on their utility bills. The transportation sector, along with buildings, are the top 2 sources of a city's greenhouse gas emissions. So Action 7 is for local governments to replace municipal vehicles powered with fossil fuels, such as gasoline and diesel, with vehicles powered by renewable energy, namely electricity from renewable sources. A city with an electric vehicle fleet will eliminate a large amount of its greenhouse gas emissions, as well as improve air quality and health. Electric vehicles, as you know, come with other benefits. Compared to gasoline vehicles, electric vehicles are quieter. They don't need oil changes. They have many fewer parts to replace or repair, smoothly and quickly accelerate, have long-term high mileage battery and drive warranties, and the cost of electricity per mile is much less than the cost of gasoline per mile, particularly now given the price of gasoline. Cities have the option of reducing their cost of transition to electric vehicles by participating in the Climate Mayor's nationwide electric vehicle purchasing collaborative. This collaborative saves cities money by harnessing the power of bulk purchasing. The map shows the location of over 400 mayors who have joined the collaborative. One member, Winter Park, Florida, leased to buy 5 all-electric vehicles for the city's building inspectors, saving almost $5,000 on each vehicle. Local police departments are often the first adopters of electric vehicles. For example, Fremont, California's police department was the first adopter in that city. A used Tesla was converted into a patrol car and then tested for a year. The electric vehicle's performance and low operating costs so exceeded expectations that the next worn-out fossil-fueled patrol car was replaced with another Tesla. In 2022, South Pasadena committed to an all-electric police vehicles. New York City will be replacing all of the 30,000 cars, trucks, buses, and other vehicles in its fleet with electric vehicles by 2035. Pictured here are some of the electric vehicles that it has already purchased. And Boise, Idaho purchased its first electric recycling truck in 2021. The truck can serve up to 120 customers per day, collect 7 tons of material before it dumps it at a local recycling center. And here is one of Denver's new electric buses. I love the sign on the side that advertises that it is 0 emissions. But transitioning to electric vehicles requires new infrastructure, a network of electrical vehicle charging stations. So Action Aid is for the local government to install or incentivize the installation of EV charging stations in public and private parking lots and other convenient locations. Many cities, towns, and counties are already creating or fostering charging networks using ordinances, tax incentives, rebates, and/or the local electric utility. 43 states and the District of Columbia offer companies and individuals various incentives for building EV charging stations. The Inflation Reduction Act includes funding for these charging stations as well. Encourage your city to apply for and use state and federal incentives that are available for enhancing the local charging network. We have the beginnings of an EV charging network, but we have a long way to go to equal our existing gas station network. And action number 9, we're almost there, is to provide incentives for the purchase of electric appliances such as heat pumps, induction ranges, water heaters, and more. There's an urgent need to reduce carbon emissions, and nowhere is this more urgent than in our homes. The way we heat and cool our homes, cook our meals, wash and dry our clothes needs to be climate friendly. Electrifying our homes by ridding them of appliances that use fossil gas is critical. According to the Center for American Progress, I quote, "Because the life cycles of these appliances are long, often 10 to 20 years or more, spurring the high rates of adoption needed to fully electrify households must start immediately. Every time a gas furnace breaks and is not replaced with an electric heat pump, that home loses the chance to be all electric for another 2 decades. Every month, the United States waits to set itself on the path to full electrification of households. The actions required to meet that end become steeper and costlier," end quote. Local communities can augment the incentives provided at the federal and state levels for purchasing electric vehicles. The city of Pasadena is an example. Pasadena's water and power customers receive a rebate of up to $250 when they purchase or lease a new or used plug-in electric vehicle. They receive an additional $250 bonus rebate if they purchase or lease an electric vehicle from a Pasadena auto dealer. And an additional $1,000 is available for customers currently participating in the Pasadena Water and income qualifying programs. And if customers install a qualifying Wi-Fi enabled EV charger in their home, they can receive an additional $600 rebate. Fortunately, cities and utility companies are working together to provide incentives to consumers to switch out their gas appliances for electric appliances. Heat pumps, electric ranges and ovens, electric dryers, and in some cases, incentives for the new electric panels required for these appliances. As of January 1st, 2023, the state of California requires all new single-family homes to be built electric ready. That means the house must have an electric panel and the wiring to support all these electric appliances and the cars. Pasadena, California, Boston, Massachusetts, and Atlantic City, New Jersey, 3 examples of cities offering incentives to purchase electric appliances. The city of Piedmont, California has a novel idea. It's collaborating with the local power provider to offer an induction cooktop lending program for Piedmont residents. Any resident can try out an induction cooktop for free for 2 weeks. And action number 10, our final recommendation is to reduce vehicle miles traveled. Between 1990 and 2019, greenhouse gas emissions in the transportation sector increased more in absolute terms than any other sector. In addition to electrifying the transportation sector, we must help Americans get out of their cars. What are the alternatives? One is walkable cities. We need to design and build new communities and retrofit existing communities to maximize walking and minimize driving, especially for commuting. According to the Urban Land Institute, in more compact developments ripe for walking, people drive 20 to 40% less. We need public transit options. We must advocate for convenient, electric, and affordable public transit. We each must lead by example, getting out of our cars and using public transit wherever possible. And bikes, good for the environment and good for our health. Join Grace in advocating for safe bike lanes. And those are the 10 actions. Use them to encourage your city to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Your city will take action. So step up and lead your city to take the actions the climate crisis requires. Encourage your community to consider the climate effects of all decisions it makes, from its power source to its building codes, to the purchase of new municipal vehicles, to the planning of its active transportation, including walking, biking, and public transit. Every decision makes a difference and can either help to reduce greenhouse gas emissions or continue business as usual. You can begin by commenting on any decision your local government is considering which affects greenhouse gas emissions. So many items on the City Council's agenda have an effect on the climate and greenhouse gas emissions. You can join our climate action team. We're continuing to learn and create new resources. We're currently working on a glossary of the technical terms used by utilities so that we can understand and communicate with them more effectively. Join us in taking action now. And one more slide. For 100 years, the League has been a nonpartisan activist grassroots organization that believes voters should play a critical role in democracy. Democracy means showing up to support the issues you care about most. Climate change is the most urgent situation of our time. Join us in taking action to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, which cause climate change. Get involved. Thank you. I know all of you are involved. Here is the link to the Climate Action Plan's webpage. It includes the 10 actions and our initial report with examples and the 10 processes. And that concludes my presentation.